There are things we carry for so long that we stop realizing we're carrying them at all. Maybe for you, it's that tightness in your chest every time the phone rings. Maybe it's the need to double-check every door, every stove knob, even when you know they're fine. Or maybe it's that quiet panic when someone asks, "Are you okay?" and you have no idea how to answer. But you smile anyway. You keep going, and the world keeps spinning. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your body was preparing for a disaster, but no one else seemed to notice? Your heart races, your palms sweat, your breath shortens, and yet you're just standing in line at the grocery store, or getting ready to call your sister, or trying to fall asleep. If you've lived with this kind of tension, this constant undercurrent of fear or unease, you might have called it stress, or overthinking, or being too sensitive. But maybe, just maybe, it's time to call it by its true name: anxiety. Now, some people might say, just relax, don't overthink it, it's all in your head. And maybe you've even said those things to yourself. But here's something we don't say enough. Anxiety is real, and it's not a weakness, it's a response. It's your brain trying desperately to keep you safe, even when there's no real danger. So today, we're going to slow down, not to fix anything, not to solve you, but just to sit beside that part of you that's been scared for a long time. The part of you that might still believe it's not safe to rest. Because healing doesn't begin with control. It begins with compassion, with understanding where this anxiety came from and why it stayed. So wherever you're listening from, your kitchen table, your car, or lying quietly in bed, I'm just really glad you're here. And if this is the first time you've truly sat with your anxiety, not to fight it, but to understand it, then I want to welcome you, not just to this episode, but to a new kind of relationship with yourself. Let's begin. Chapter 1. What is anxiety? When your brain tries to protect you, there's a small village in the mountains of northern Japan where winter snow clings to wooden rooftops like thick cotton, and time seems to move more slowly than the world below. In that village, there once lived an old monk named Kenzo, who spent his days sweeping leaves that the wind brought endlessly into the temple garden. Visitors often asked him why he did it, why he bothered, when the wind would only bring more leaves the next day. Kenzo would smile and say, "Because sweeping calms the leaves inside me too." I wonder, have you ever felt like your mind is filled with leaves, fluttering, restless, never still? Like no matter how peaceful your surroundings may be, there's a storm of movement within you that refuses to quiet down. Perhaps it comes in the form of racing thoughts when you try to sleep, or that heavy sensation in your chest when a simple task, like driving to the store or answering a message, feels like a mountain. That feeling, that restlessness, that's what many call anxiety. But what if I told you that anxiety, in its essence, isn't trying to hurt you? What if I told you it's your brain's way of protecting you, just like Kenzo's broom protecting his heart from becoming cluttered with things unneeded? You see, the brain is a deeply loyal friend, sometimes too loyal. Its job is to keep you alive, not necessarily to keep you happy. Long ago, when our ancestors heard a rustle in the grass, the ones whose brains reacted fastest, the ones who jumped, ran, froze, those were the ones who survived. Over thousands of years, that protective instinct became part of us. In the brain, that task falls to a small almond-shaped part called the amygdala. Think of it as your inner guard dog, always watching, always listening, always on edge. When you face a real threat, a car swerving too close, a pot of water boiling over, a fire alarm in the night, that little part of your brain rings the bell. It sends signals to your whole body. Get ready. Danger is here. Your heart races, your breath shortens, your muscles tighten. All of it is your body trying to save you. And when there is danger, this system is beautiful, miraculous even. But here's where it becomes tender and complicated. For some of us, this internal alarm doesn't wait for real danger. It starts ringing in a quiet room, during a phone call, while walking into a gathering of kind faces. The body reacts the same, heart pounding, chest tightening, but the cause is invisible. There's no fire, no threat, just the sense that something is wrong. This is anxiety not as instinct, but as a misfire, a beautiful system gone off track, and still, it believes it's helping. Now maybe you've blamed yourself for it. Maybe you've said, "What's wrong with me?" Or "Why can't I just relax?" I've heard those same questions from people who've lived full, generous lives. Parents, teachers, caretakers, even monks. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply wired to protect yourself, even when the danger is long gone. There's a Zen story of a man walking through a forest who sees a snake coiled on the path. He leaps back, heart pounding, breath shallow. But when he looks again, he sees it's just a rope, harmless. The fear was real, the danger wasn't. The body doesn't know the difference. It simply prepares. So I ask you gently, what are the snakes on your path that turned out to be ropes? Maybe a friend not returning your call, a strange look from a stranger, a mistake you made long ago that still haunts you in silence. The body reacts. It doesn't ask for evidence. It only remembers how to keep you safe. The Buddha once taught, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. But he also taught compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. Because even when the mind becomes a battlefield, the path of peace is still open. We can walk it, slowly, patiently, with each small understanding. So yes, anxiety is real. It lives in the nervous system. It changes the rhythm of your breath. But more than that, anxiety is a story the body tells, sometimes long after the story should have ended. And the first step to healing isn't to silence it, it's to listen. What if instead of asking, "How do I make this go away?" you asked, "What are you trying to protect me from, dear mind?" What answer might come from the silence? Sometimes the body says, "I'm scared because no one ever helped me before." Sometimes it says, "I'm on guard because last time I was alone." And then we understand, anxiety is a wound that learned to bark like a guard dog. But now, you're not alone. You're here, we're here, and the story, yours, is still unfolding. So as we walk deeper into this, let us hold that inner voice, not with shame, but with softness. Let us remember Kenzo and his garden, sweeping not because the leaves were gone, but because the act itself was peace. When we return, we'll look back even further into the roots of how anxiety begins in childhood, and perhaps we'll find a part of ourselves still waiting to be heard. Shall we continue? Chapter 2. Anxiety often begins in childhood. There's a story I once heard from a Vietnamese monk, soft-spoken and slow-walking, who said that every adult carries a child inside, a child still waiting to feel safe, not healed, not strong, just safe. You see, anxiety doesn't come out of nowhere. It grows from something. It grows from somewhere. And more often than not, it begins when we are very, very small, long before we know what the word anxiety even means. Let me take you back. Imagine a child, maybe 5 or 6 years old, sitting in the corner of a quiet room. Outside, it's raining, the kind of soft, steady rain that makes the world feel heavy. The child hears yelling in the kitchen, dishes clinking too hard, footsteps slamming instead of walking. And in that moment, the child doesn't know why the grown-ups are upset. They don't know what caused the storm inside the house, but they do know one thing with absolute certainty: it must be my fault. That's the heartbreak of the developing brain. It doesn't have the capacity to separate itself from the chaos around it. Children are wired to survive by staying close to caregivers, and when caregivers are distant, angry, or absent, a child's nervous system begins a lifelong vigil, a kind of hyper-alertness, a readiness to please, to predict, to prevent the next outburst, because that, in the mind of a child, might be the only way to survive. And so begins the programming. Not in a moment, but in 1,000 little moments. Moments where the child learns that safety is something you earn, not something you deserve. Moments when love feels conditional, when silence feels dangerous, when laughter feels too loud. That's where anxiety plants its seed. Now, if I were sitting with you right now, across from you at a small wooden table, with a cup of warm tea, I would ask, not as a therapist, but as a fellow human, do you remember when your body first learned not to trust peace? It's a powerful question, and sometimes it doesn't come with an answer you can name, because many of these patterns begin before memory even forms. They begin with tone of voice, with faces turned away, with needs that go unanswered. The Buddha spoke of dukkha, the inherent unsatisfactoriness of life, but he also spoke of sati, awareness, and awareness begins with seeing the origin of our pain, not to blame, but to understand. Let me share a story. Not long ago, I met a man in his 70s who had lived with anxiety his whole life. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that kept him busy, overworking, overthinking, overdoing. When we talked, he said something that stayed with me. I spent 60 years trying to earn the love I never got at 6. Those words hit like a bell ringing across a valley. He traced it back to his childhood, a father who never said a kind word, a mother too tired to listen. He was a good child, a helpful child, but deep inside, he was scared all the time. Scared to be in the way, scared to be too much, scared to not be enough. That's the paradox, isn't it? Anxiety often begins as a solution, a survival strategy. It kept us alert, it kept us safe, it taught us how to read the room, how to walk on eggshells, how to avoid confrontation, how to never ever be the reason someone else got upset. But what happens when we grow older? When the threats are gone but the alarm still rings? We become adults who apologize too much, who rehearse conversations in our heads, who wake up in the middle of the night and go over every word we said that day, hoping we didn't upset anyone. We become adults who smile when we're hurting, who help others but struggle to ask for help, who never really learned how to rest. Dear one, if this sounds like you, please know you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not flawed. You are someone who learned to survive the best way you knew how. And now, you are learning to live differently. In Buddhist psychology, there is a concept called inner refuge. It means finding safety, not in people or circumstances, but within the steady presence of your own awareness. It means learning to say to yourself, I see you, little one. You did your best. You don't have to protect me anymore. You can rest now. Because here's the truth, the child within you was never meant to carry the burdens of the world. They just didn't have another choice. But now you do. So as we continue on this path, I invite you not just to look back with sorrow, but with reverence. You survived. You adapted. And now, perhaps for the first time, you are ready to soften. Next, we'll explore what happens when that old survival system keeps running in the background of adult life. We'll talk about the ways it shows up, not just in panic, but in perfectionism, in overachievement, in emotional numbness. And most importantly, we'll begin to ask, how do we start updating this inner system so that it works for the person we are today? But before we move on, I'll leave you with this. Sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is listen to the child we once were, without trying to fix them. Just to say, you didn't deserve any of that, and I'm here now. Are you ready to keep going? Chapter 3. You're not broken. You're running an old program. There's a story in the Zen tradition about a traveler who comes upon a beautiful tea house deep in the mountains. The place is quiet, tucked away from the world, with steam curling from its chimney like breath in the cold. The traveler knocks and is welcomed in by the old host, who smiles and pours him a cup of tea. But as the man begins to drink, he notices something strange. The cup is cracked, chipped at the rim, and yet the tea within is warm, comforting, perfect. The old host sees the look in his guest's eyes and says gently, "The cup is old, but it still holds warmth." That story came back to me one afternoon while sitting with an old friend who had lived many decades with quiet shame. She was the type of woman who always knew where the flashlight was, who carried band-aids in her purse, who never forgot a birthday or a thank you note. But when she talked about her inner life, her voice grew soft. She told me, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I've done everything right, but I still feel like I'm one step from falling apart." That right there is the quiet cry of so many people who live with anxiety in the background of their lives. They function, they serve, they care, but inside, they feel like they're just barely holding it together. And what hurts even more is not knowing why. Here's the truth I wish someone had told us sooner. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just running an old program. You see, the human brain isn't like a house we grow up in and later leave behind. It's more like a tiny town that keeps expanding. Every memory, every belief, every reflex, each one lays a brick. And the older we get, the more structure that town has. But the foundation, it was poured long ago, often in childhood. And unless we stop and look, we keep building on top of it, unaware that the original wiring might no longer fit the lives we live today. That old program might have taught you that your worth depends on what you do for others, that if you're perfect, you'll finally be safe, that emotions are dangerous, that love is earned, not freely given. Maybe these beliefs helped you survive a home that didn't feel safe. Maybe they protected you from the confusion of emotional absence, or the instability of someone's anger, or the loneliness of being left to figure it all out on your own. But now, you're not that child anymore. You are wiser, more grounded, and yet, that old program is still running, isn't it? It's what makes your shoulders tense, even when there's no one yelling. It's what makes you apologize when you've done nothing wrong. It's what keeps you from resting, from saying no, from believing you are already enough. In Buddhist thought, there is a powerful image of the monkey mind, the restless part of us that jumps from fear to fear, assumption to assumption, reacting instead of observing. But deeper than the monkey mind lies the still lake, the mind that sees clearly. That lake doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from seeing what is, without judgment. And sometimes, what we must see is this: my body is reacting to something that is no longer true. That's not failure. That's awakening. I once heard Tish Nasht, Asnasht say, "I believe that includes the parts of us that feel separate from our own lives. The inner child who's still afraid, the adult who feels like a fraud, the mind that trembles when the world gets quiet. We are not broken. We are layered. You are not too emotional. You are someone who learned to feel deeply and watch closely, because once That's what kept you safe. You are not too much. You are someone whose needs were once unmet, and who is still learning that it's okay to ask, to feel, to rest. You are not weak. You are someone who carried too much for too long, without anyone helping you set it down. And now, gently, we begin to shift. Just as software can be updated, so can the patterns of your nervous system. The first step is noticing. Noticing when your reaction feels louder than the moment, when your heart races in stillness, when your mind spins in a circle, trying to predict what might go wrong. These are not signs of failure. These are echoes, and echoes fade when they are heard. There is a story of a novice monk who asked his teacher, "Master, what is the path to healing?" The master replied, "First, sit with the wound, then let the wound sit with you." It's an odd image, isn't it? But what it means is that we stop trying to solve ourselves. We start tending to ourselves instead. So what does that look like in everyday life? Maybe it means pausing when your chest tightens and saying, "I see you." Maybe it means softening the voice in your head that always asks, "What did I do wrong?" Maybe it means offering yourself the same compassion you've so freely given to others. You are not your old programming, you are the awareness seeing it. And that awareness is where transformation begins. Next, we'll explore the tools and practices, simple, real, grounding things that begin to calm the anxious mind. We'll move from understanding to action, from seeing to soothing. But before we go, take a breath. Really, right now, a slow, kind breath. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be. Shall we take the next step together? Chapter 4. What helps calm anxiety? When I was a child, my grandmother used to stir a pot of herbal tea every evening at the same time. She didn't use a timer. She didn't need one. She'd watch the way the steam curled upward, the way the tiny leaves danced as the water warmed them. I once asked her why she always stirred so slowly. She smiled and said, "Because if I move too fast, the tea gets cloudy." That image stayed with me. How even tea can become muddled if rushed. And I've come to see our minds work in much the same way. When we are anxious, everything speeds up, thoughts race, the chest tightens, the breath becomes short, shallow, and without realizing it, we begin to act as though the house is on fire, even when there's no smoke at all. We forget that we can slow down the stirring. So what helps? What truly calms anxiety? Not as a quick fix, not as an escape, but as a kind return to ourselves. Well, let me first say this. Healing anxiety doesn't begin with doing. It begins with undoing. Undoing the pressure to be perfect. Undoing the need to control everything. Undoing the belief that we must get over it to be okay. Instead, it begins with presence. And presence can start in the smallest of ways. Take the breath, for instance. Most of us don't even notice it until it's gone. But the breath is like an old friend, always waiting patiently to be remembered. When anxiety rises, the breath becomes short, trapped in the chest. But we can guide it gently back down into the belly. One practice I often recommend is called the 4-7-8 breath. You inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for 7, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for 8, like a long sigh. The first time you try it, it might feel odd, like your body doesn't know how to trust the slowness. But with time, it begins to settle, like the tea leaves in my grandmother's pot. You're not forcing calm, you're inviting it. Then there's the practice of grounding, returning to your senses when the mind tries to escape into fear. I often suggest something as simple as naming 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and one thing you can taste. This isn't about distraction, it's about anchoring, like planting your feet on the earth again. In Buddhism, there is a word smriti, or mindfulness, but not mindfulness as performance, not being present in some perfect, serene way. True mindfulness is about noticing, without judgment. It's the sacred art of being with what is, even when what is feels uncomfortable. When we are anxious, our minds want to leave the moment. Mindfulness gently invites us back, and sometimes that invitation begins with something as small as drinking a glass of water, slowly, feeling the coolness as it touches your lips, noticing the texture, the sound, the temperature. That small act is presence. That's how you begin. Some of the most powerful tools are also the most unexpected. Did you know that chewing gum can help regulate your nervous system? It activates your jaw, a part of the body often clenched in anxiety, and it signals to the brain that you are not in danger. Because no one chews gum in a crisis, right? It's a tiny cue that says, "We're okay." Or maybe it's as simple as singing. Not beautifully, not perfectly, just singing something soft to yourself, or humming. The vibration of sound against your chest soothes the vagus nerve, the great river of calm that flows through your body. And then there's touch, your own hand over your heart. A gesture so tender it almost feels silly at first, but try it. Place your palm over your heart and feel the rise and fall. This is your body. This is your life. This moment is yours. Now I know for some people, these tools may sound too simple, too small to matter, but as the Buddha taught, do not overlook tiny good actions, thinking they are of no benefit. Even tiny drops of water will fill a large vessel. These practices are like drops. One breath, one grounding moment, one cup of tea stirred slowly. And of course, for many, anxiety lives deep in the body from years, decades of carrying too much. In these cases, therapy, gentle movement like walking or qigong, or even medication when appropriate, can all be part of the healing path. There is no shame in seeking help. The Dharma teaches interdependence. None of us walks alone, and we were never meant to. Let me offer one last image before we close this chapter. There is a temple in Thailand where the monks tend to a garden of lotus flowers. They bloom not in perfect soil, but in mud, and yet they rise clean and radiant above the murky water. The monks often say, "No mud, no lotus." That's how it is with anxiety. The discomfort, the tightness, the fear, they are the mud. But within them lies the possibility of the lotus, a mind that is steady, a heart that is soft, a body that knows it is safe. You don't need to force that lotus open. You only need to nourish the soil. And these practices, these breaths, these moments of presence, they are the nourishment. In the next chapter, we'll begin to explore what it truly means to become a friend to yourself, not as a project, not as another goal, but as a homecoming, a turning toward the very parts of yourself you were once taught to hide. But for now, I invite you to take one breath. Place your hand over your heart and whisper inwardly, "I'm learning to be safe here." We'll go deeper soon, shall we? Chapter 5. Becoming a friend to yourself. Somewhere in the hills of northern India, under the golden shadow of Bodh Gaya, there's a tree that stands with its roots deep in centuries of silence. The Bodhi tree, they call it, the place where the Buddha is said to have awakened. But here's what many don't know. Before he became the awakened one, he was simply a man, thin, weary, questioning, and alone. And before he found enlightenment, he first had to sit with himself, not with a crowd, not with perfect peace, but with discomfort, with doubt, with memories and fear and longing, with everything that lived inside him. And that, I think, is where the real practice begins, not in temples or teachings, but in those quiet, aching moments where you sit with the very parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime running from. That, dear listener, is what it means to become a friend to yourself. It's a phrase that sounds so simple, doesn't it? Like something you'd read on a greeting card or hear in a well-meaning conversation. But if you've lived with anxiety for any length of time, you know it's anything but simple. Because anxiety teaches you to be afraid of your own mind. It teaches you to treat yourself like a problem to be solved, not a person to be loved. And that's what we begin to undo here. You see, most of us were never taught how to be kind to ourselves. We were taught how to be productive, how to be polite, how to be useful. But compassion, softness, forgiveness, those were things reserved for others, or worse, for the deserving. And yet the Buddha taught, you can search the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love and compassion than you are, and you will not find that person anywhere. The first time I heard that teaching, I'll admit, I resisted it. It felt unearned. After all, hadn't I messed up? Hadn't I said too much, or not enough, or let people down? Hadn't I failed to fix myself? But then I remembered, love isn't earned, it's offered, and the offering begins within. There's a practice I learned from an elder in the Thai forest tradition. He called it sitting beside the scared child. Whenever he felt his anxiety rising, instead of pushing it away, he would close his eyes and imagine himself as a child again, small, frightened, waiting in a dark hallway for someone to come. Then, as the adult he is now, he would walk toward that child and simply sit, not to explain, not to correct, just to be there. Can you picture it? You, as you are now, sitting beside the version of you who first felt unsafe. Maybe 5 years old, maybe 15. The age doesn't matter. What matters is that you stay. No matter how awkward or tender or strange it feels, you stay. And slowly that child begins to believe they're not alone anymore. That's the essence of befriending yourself, not making your anxiety disappear, not becoming someone different, but choosing to stay with yourself. There's another story, this one from the Pali Canon, of a monk who was terrified while meditating in the forest. Every creak of a branch, every whisper of wind sent fear through his body. When he returned to the Buddha, he confessed his fear and shame. The Buddha didn't scold him. He didn't tell him to meditate harder. Instead, he said gently, "Go back. But this time, meditate with loving friendliness. Extend it to the trees, to the wind, to the fear itself." And the monk did, and the fear softened. Not because the forest changed, but because his relationship to the fear changed. That is the power of metta, loving kindness, and it begins at home. For you, maybe it starts with the next time anxiety whispers something is wrong. Instead of snapping back with frustration or shame, you pause and say, "I hear you. I know you're trying to protect me, but I'm okay right now. We're okay." Speak to yourself as you would speak to a grandchild who's scared of thunder. You wouldn't say, "Stop crying." You'd hold them. You'd wait. You'd let the storm pass together. Why not offer the same to yourself? Of course, this isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. And some days you'll forget. Some days the voice of fear will be louder than the voice of compassion. That's okay. What matters is that you return again and again, because friendship is not built in grand gestures. It's built in small, consistent kindnesses. Sitting quietly with your tea, resting without guilt, saying no with softness, taking a walk because it feels good, not because you have to earn your rest. Letting go of perfection, letting in grace. And when anxiety shows up, and it will, you welcome it like an old companion, not a monster. You say, "Ah, there you are, come sit." But you don't get to drive today. Over time, something sacred happens. The mind begins to trust the heart again. The body begins to breathe easier. The nervous system, once wired for survival, learns to recognize safety, not as an idea, but as a lived experience. And you, yes you, begin to feel at home in your own being. So if there is one thing I hope you carry from this journey, it is this: you are not broken, you are becoming whole, and you are not alone. This moment, this breath, this gentle step toward yourself, it is enough. May you be kind to the child within. May you walk gently with the body that has carried you this far. May you speak with tenderness to the mind that has tried so hard to keep you safe. And may you always, always remember, I'm happy you're here.